My name is Boris. I am with SAP. My background is manufacturing and operations. I actually started way back with General Motors as a co-op student in Tarrytown, New York, and that plant's long since been leveled. If you ever drive across the Tappan Zee Bridge and look to the left, it's the big flat spot right by the lighthouse. And that's basically where I cut my teeth in manufacturing. And it's a real eye-opener to move from hardcore manufacturing into a technology company, which is where I am now. And what we do, and what most people know SAP for, is the delivery of business applications. What many, maybe most people don't know, is that we actually deliver capability all the way down to the frontline operators in the plant. So that's my area of focus, is how we leverage the enterprise systems and how we connect them down into the plant. So just take a minute and explain a little bit about the things that we're doing. I think this is a great topic to join in. But there are fundamentally 5 areas that SAP is focused on. So one is applications, business applications. We're number 1 in that space. Analytics, we're also number 1 in that space. And that spans a real broad array of what we talk about, the real-time analytics on the plant floor up into the business. Third is cloud computing. We acquired a company called SuccessFactors we're completing that now, about a $3.5 billion acquisition. They are a cloud company around human resources, HCM topics. So that really puts us in a big way into the cloud space. Excuse me. Mobility, we're actually number 1 with the acquisition of Sybase and how we leverage that to deliver secure data to the mobile operator. And the fifth one is can't remember what actually didn't know if that was going to go over, but apparently everybody knows the reference there. Fifth one is actually database and technology. So if you look at the in-memory solutions, the HANA solution, and how you speed things up. So now I think there's a couple things that sum it up nicely, for me at least, is things like energy and resource management. So this is an area where we have solutions. We actually have a customer that reports a couple $100 million a year in hard ROI based on the solutions that SAP provides to exactly support what the operators did, right? Because the technology, we don't have pixie dust yet. It really doesn't do anything. What it does is enable other people to do things and drive business outcomes. And if you think about the concept of moving energy into the bill of material, I mean, it's hard to imagine that I could tell you how much resin went into this device, but I can't tell you how much energy or resources went into this device, right? I heard Hal Zesch, he's a former CIO of Valero, say, you know, we grew up when data was expensive and energy was cheap, and now data's cheap and energy's expensive, and we just don't know how to make that transition. So think about that concept. If and when we put energy into the bill of material, it solves all these other problems, because now I can determine when and where I make things. And it creates this data supply chain that can be leveraged in any number of other ways. I mean, we've got arguably some activists, bureaucrats in areas like the EPA and different areas who want to say, look, we're good enough and smart enough, we should be able to drive some significant outcomes in how we do things. So let's make manufacturing companies do this. Let's make discrete manufacturers deal with things like conflict minerals. Let's talk about Boilermatic. Talk about all these different areas that have a pretty significant impact. If all you had to do was kind of plug that requirement in at the top of the business and tie that all the way down to the frontline operation and say, okay, that's one more piece of data I pick up. I pick it up through the normal course of doing business, and I leverage it wherever I need across the business. Right? That's kind of the Holy Grail. That's actually what we're doing right now, and as we go through these discussions, I'll mention a couple of the customers that are doing that. But the customers that are doing that, it's impacting their stock price. It's impacting how they're perceived in the marketplace, how people are investing in their companies. So you can think that this is something that, you know, maybe in the future we're going to do. I think it's coming a lot faster than anybody realizes. And when you talk about these critical areas like mobility, people carrying their own devices into plants, how do you do that? Somebody at the breakfast the other day said, we're locking up the USB ports on all the laptops. I mean, that's one approach. The other approach is some kid is going to convince some CEO to say, we're going to take the market by being more agile, more aggressive. Now, doing it in a safe fashion, doing it in a fashion that can be repeated reliably, that's pretty important. So these are complex issues, but there are ways to deal with them. And then finally, and I think it'll be interesting in the discussion to hear from the other panelists around the 3D visual enterprise. So we've acquired some technology. It's being woven into, frankly, everything we do. If you can envision a maintenance mechanic having a device of some sort with augmented reality that I can look at my assets, I can see how those assets are performing in real time based on data that's coming from the underlying systems. I can see exploded views of that device. I can see instructions regarding safety or environmental health type issues or maintenance issues. This is available now. Right? So if you're not figuring out how to pilot, how to push these technologies, and you know, great, if you get it all from SAP, I think that's fabulous. But I think you need to find out who it is that can help you solve these problems, because you need to get out on the front edge of this to figure out how to use it effectively in your organization. So I appreciate you giving me a couple minutes, and look forward to some interesting discussion. Thanks.